Pantry, and today I'm doing a little different video. There's been a few videos going around on YouTube and there's a little buzz about whether or not it saves you money to home can. And it's in the YouTube, canning community. I've been asked by a few people if I would do a video on this. I guess there was originally a video on this subject and they said that something to the effect that it didn't save money. I am not subscribed to that channel, nor did I watch the video, so I'm not gonna do a video response to that. I'm actually just gonna give my opinion and let that be. So I've been canning for many years, and some of my equipment was old and used when I got it, and some of my jars. When I geared back up to start stocking my pantry up, 10 years or so ago, I was making sure that, because the economy was terrible, making sure that we had meat and all those things on the shelf. And I thought, I think I need more jars, because I was only rotating about 100 to 200 jars a year, rotating that through my pantry. And I needed to bump it up to closer to 400. And so I started looking on Craigslist. I found 300 jars for $50. And in fact, I did a video way back then showing that stacks, just cases, and they'd been well cared for. There were some actual decanters that you can't find anymore. It was quite a find. So, and I felt very honored that she gave me her mother's canning jars that had serviced their family, her mother's whole life of canning for their family. So it's a one-time purchase, unless you drop a jar and break it, and they're pretty tough. I've only done that twice in my whole canning lifetime. These jars are tough. They're made to withstand heat. So it's a one-time purchase, and you amortize that over a lifetime or a lifestyle of canning and providing for your family. I don't factor in the cost of that, nor do I factor in the cost of my my canners. I started with Presto canners. Actually, I had an old used one for years, and it was gold that I used, and then I went to the Presto canners and I bought one, and then I bought another one because I needed, that double space for canning. And then I graduated up, when I could afford it, to the All-American canner. And I gave those two canners to people that I thought would really use them and benefit from them. So you're passing down, some kind of deal. Not everybody can do that, but I've seen them at garage sales pretty inexpensively. You can have the gauge calibrated at usually your local extension office will calibrate the gauge for you. Sometimes your hardware store. You can get, the Prestos have a gasket. You can get new gaskets online, new gauges, new everything, if you wanted to make sure the pressure canner was up to snuff. But I now have two All-American canners, and that's all I have as far as pressure canning. I have a electric water bath canner and a stovetop water bath canner. I prefer the electric one. It's easy. It keeps stuff off of my stove, and it doesn't make the house as hot. I can do it outside if I need to. So those expenses, I don't amortize that into the cost of canning anymore. I feel like that's a one-time cost. Just like nobody factors in the cost of their freezer because they went and bought in bulk at Costco, and now they've got to factor in per pound. The meat didn't just cost $8.99 a pound for steaks at Costco, but we've got to factor in that $800 freezer. So. Or we don't factor in the cost of our food. We don't factor in the refrigerator and the electric that those use. So I just feel like factoring in the equipment, you're gonna have equipment no matter what kind of food preservation you're doing, whether it's refrigerator, freezer, dehydrating, any of that. You're gonna have the cost of the equipment off the top, and do it as you can. Ask people, just tell people, if you get a hold of any canning jars, don't throw them away, save them for me. Because some people will get gifts of canned goods and they don't know what to do with the jar. So there's ways to get that stuff a little bit more reasonably, and they're not expensive. You can buy your lids in bulk and your rings. I saw rings on sale. These, I wanted to make sure I showed you. These rings on sale on Facebook Marketplace for, there were 12 for $1. So you can't beat that, and they were brand new. I feel much better about having my home canned barbecue sauce, that I know what I put into it. I know exactly the measurements, the amount, and the quality of the ingredients, rather than looking, and it's, you know, 4 or 5 things, rather than looking at a paragraph of chemicals and additives and preservatives and stuff that's really not good for us. So I feel better about that. My home canned bone broth, absolutely. Is it cheaper than bone broth? Yes, if it is cheaper than bone broth in the store. Something like this would cost you $8 or $9. Again, I'm not factoring in the equipment. I'm only factoring in the broth. And I got to eat the turkey that came from that. Salsa from my garden. This is from 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, 16. So this is from 3 years ago from my garden. This is delicious. I will open this jar and add some fresh tomatoes from the garden when they come in, and we'll have salsa. This is more of a restaurant style salsa. It's wonderful, and I know what's in here. I know it was all organic homegrown veggies from my garden. So it doesn't really matter. It's not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. I grew up with canning. We canned for the whole year. We always had a huge garden, and the stuff that we didn't have in our yard on fruit trees or nut trees, we purchased, and I grew up here, we purchased in bulk, big cases of peaches. So our peaches were canned and they would last 2 or 3 years. My canned meats and soups and all of this stuff, I have a 3-year window on everything. So I make sure that stuff rotates out every 3 years. This 3-year-old jar of salsa will be rotated out this year. Will I be making more salsa? I sure hope so, because if I have to buy tomatoes, I will do it. I only have, a dozen tomato plants, I think. So I may not get enough to do all of my sauces and everything, but I certainly have access to farmer's market quality tomatoes. So soups, when I make soup, I can up the leftovers. This is zuppa. So I knew I wasn't going to eat the whole pot of zuppa Toscana, so I canned it up before I put the cream in. When I open this, I'll add heavy cream, and I have a soup that I made. I know all the ingredients. I made it last year, and I've got several jars of this to have a hot bowl of soup anytime I want. Dilly beans from 2017. And these were green beans from my garden, and I did dill beans along with my canned green beans, which I do plan on canning. I don't have any more green beans with mushrooms. I plan on canning them. Beans, black beans, pinto beans, all your beans are ready to use. These are black beans, and I figured these, because I buy these in bulk, they cost me for this jar a little under 20 cents a jar. I'm not factoring the lid or the jar. The lid cost me a couple pennies. I guess you could factor that because it's disposable, but honest and truly, okay, we'll say 20 cents a jar. You can't go buy a pint and a half of black beans in the grocery store. That's all that's in there is black beans and a little bit of salt and some water. And the people that are canning in those factories, they don't care what goes on your table. They don't care if it's healthy. They don't care if the metal is leaching into your food. It's their job. They just do their job. So that's my opinion on this subject. I think when I get chicken on sale, if I get good quality chicken on sale, let's say chicken breast, if I get chicken breast that I trust the grower, or legs and thighs, I did that a while back. I got them for 39 cents a pound, and I did research the grower, and I can have that chicken 2 or 3 years later for today's sale prices. So yeah, I'm saving some money. I feel like it saves money, and I don't ever have to worry that I can't go to the grocery store. There was a week there before Christmas that I had some kind of flu and could not leave the house, and I'd get up to take a shower and I was back in bed before my hair was dry. It was just like awful. And I relied on my home canned pantry because I hadn't gone to the store, and I needed stuff that I could just pop the jar and eat. And so my tomato soup, and my bone broth was crucial to my being able to just kind of sustain. So I think we don't factor in the cost of our dehydrators, our refrigerators and freezers, and the cost of running them into our food bill. So why I would factor in my jars and my canning equipment into that, it's just part of the deal. It's just like that would mean that you'd need to factor in your pots and pans when you cook those things that you put back in your freezer or in your canned pantry. I do buy some canned goods when I run out, like I'm out of tomato products now. So I did buy some diced tomatoes, and I did buy, but I'm buying the one that has the longest date out, and I'm using them right away. Or I just use fresh tomatoes and do it. I try to do all my own sauces, like my own enchilada sauce. I try to do those things to keep as healthy as possible. And now I'll be doing some sugar-free things along the way because I'm getting that sugar out of my diet. So anyways, guys, I hope that this inspires you. If you're on the fence about canning, or just making yourself a well-rounded pantry. And what I mean by that is I do not put all my eggs in one basket. Not all of my stuff is in canning jars. Not all of my stuff is in the freezer. And I freezer bank meals, I freezer bank when I get stuff on sale or it's been marked down, it goes in the freezer. I freezer banked steaks today and some chicken thighs. I also have, as you guys know, I sell Thrive, and I'm an avid user of Thrive products. I'm making enchiladas that are Thrive chicken, they're grilled chicken, they're peppers, the green peppers, the green chilies, the red peppers, the onions, my homemade enchilada sauce, and I'm gonna have a meal. I've got freeze dried, so I know that every section, if one fails, I've got it covered. If my freezers go out, I'll can it. I'll can everything in there. The shelf life for chicken in the freezer is 3 months. At the end of that 3 months, if I haven't eaten it, I can it up, and then I get 3 more years out of it. So same with wild game. When it comes time to hunting season, that's what I've always done. Last year stuff or the year before goes in a canning jar to extend the life of that product and make room for the new fall harvest. So I hope that this inspires you. Go ahead and get canning. Start with some jams and jellies for your family, and they'll love you for it. Explore the idea of getting yourself a ball canning book or some other resources. There's some really good ones out there, but I would start with the good old-fashioned blue book, ball complete book of home preservation and canning, and learn how to do all of them properly, whether you need to blanch the stuff before it goes in the freezer. Pressure canning is just as safe as cooking on a stovetop or water bath canning, so there's nothing to be afraid of, and it's very, very rewarding, and your family is gonna thank you for it, because there's nothing like opening up a jar of home canned chicken and making chicken salad that is delicious. When I open up a jar and you compare it to, let's say, the can that you buy in the grocery store, side by side, my family will always choose the home canned chicken. So, guys, if it helps, I hope you leave a comment in the comment section. I hope that you pass this video around. It's just my opinion. Doesn't mean that it's the gospel by any stretch of the imagination. But yes, I believe canning saves me money, and because I'm not buying at tomorrow's prices if I don't want to. I've already got it put back. So let's do another video on some canning. We need to do some canning here really soon. And if you'd like to see some canning videos, even though I've got hundreds on my channel, go ahead and leave me a comment as well in the description box. I'll leave a link to my Thrive website so you can go over there and shop for any freeze-dried product you might be interested in. I'm getting ready to do a grocery haul on that. Thrive is an excellent, excellent, no waste, long shelf life, 25 years on most of the number 10 cans. And then once you open it, you have a year to use it. You absolutely will not have to worry about food on your table. And that's an insurance policy that I think is priceless. We insure our homes, our cars, our lives, but we don't put an insurance policy in the pantry. Yeah. let's do some canning and some freezer banking and maybe some food storage and take a deep breath and relax. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe, and I will do some Thrive recipes for you. I haven't had that on here in a while. I just, even though I'm using it every day, I just haven't had it in a video, so I will get on that and share some delicious recipes